Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another episode of Quite Serious Mini Reviews. And today we'll be looking at a 2D platformer inspired by Mega Man and Mega Man X called Ghosting Gun S, developed and published by Daltair. As you may have guessed, I am still not done crying over the massive disappointment that was Mighty No. 9. And since I can't afford Mega Man 11, I started looking for indie titles that are similar to it. That's when I found Ghosting Gun S in my suggestions box. Luckily, I didn't even have to buy it since Daltair gave it to me as a gift after I showed interest in it. Oh, which reminds me, do keep in mind that I received this game for free, however my opinions on it are 100% my own. The main reason I decided to review this game is because this is Daltair's first game, and I honestly think he has the potential to do a great job on his next one if he irons out the flaws in this one. The game starts off with a city that's under attack by the evil forces of Bolfair Plague. You play as Moz, an elf-like warrior who can use a special power called ghosting. You're given 3 targets to eliminate in order to increase the city's odds of fighting back. And that's the whole story. To call it bare is an understatement. Who is Moz? What sort of creature is she? What are her motives? Who's the guy giving her missions? Who are these people? Who's this guy? And what the heck is the Bolfair Plague? I know action platformers don't need a deep story. I mean, it's not like Mega Man had a deep one, but at least it was functional, where you understand who the protagonist is, who the villains are, and what's going on. Even the 3 leaders you're meant to eliminate barely have a personality. I actually didn't notice the first time around that this is one of the 3 targets. I thought he was just a generic boss like this tank. It would have been a lot better if you run into these bosses throughout their levels every now and again for a bit of banter. I mean, even the final boss is barely mentioned throughout the game. He's just there, like every other boss. The visuals are a mixed bag. On the one hand, I love the character sprites. The main protagonist is cute, the villains are well drawn, and the enemies look pretty good. The intro cutscene was simple yet well done, except for this part. These bullets are so out of place, they look like clip art. On the other hand, the backgrounds and tile work are just a mess. Some of them are too busy, like the ones in the first level. It's like, how much more pink could this be? And the answer is none. None more pink. Others are just... look at this! I checked out Daltair's DeviantArt page, and he seems to have a knack for drawing characters. He's really good at it, but his page has 0 background art, which leads me to believe that his experience with backgrounds isn't that great. I think having simplistic backgrounds would have been a lot more beneficial in this game, and the music is just awful. Daltair worked on everything in this game, including the music, so I know I should keep that in mind before complaining. Then again, Thomas Happ and Toby Fox, both of which are solo developers, also composed the music of their respective games. But can you guess which solo developer didn't compose their game's music? Dean Dodrell didn't compose the music of his solo project because he's probably not a good composer, and that's fine. My point is, if you're not good at it, there's really no shame in getting someone to help you write it. I hope next time around you'll hire a designated composer for your game, or at least add the option to turn the music off. Give us options in general. What is this? I know your vision was to make a simple action platformer, but more options would have gone a long way. The game is a basic run-and-gun action platformer where you jump around shooting and slicing your way through a level. Shooting is pretty simple since you can hold down the button for rapid fire, which is something I always appreciate. You start off with a normal gun with unlimited ammo, and later on you'll be able to purchase 3 other weapons that use your ammo meter. It's kinda weird that ammo is measured this way, and I don't like the fact that all your guns use the same meter. Each gun should have had its own meter so you don't run out of all 3 at the same time. Also, it's pretty annoying that when enemies are off screen or barely visible, you can't hurt them, yet they can still hurt you. Getting hit by bullets shot by an enemy you can't see is never fun. Melee attacks are not that simple. Attacking consumes your ghost stamina, which refills in just a second or two. Your blades are also able to deflect enemy bullets, which is pretty cool and does get in handy, especially in boss fights. Stamina is also used for your whirlwind attack, which attacks enemies while making you practically invincible. Unless you hit one of these rainbow-colored things, which deplete your stamina instantly, rendering you defenseless till you regain it. I like the use of stamina for the whirlwind attack, but I don't see a reason why normal attacks use it as well. One might argue it's so that you don't just keep deflecting enemy bullets, but deflecting them requires timing, and I think that's challenging enough, no? Or perhaps a better fix was to make stamina exclusively tied to your special attacks, which would deflect enemy bullets while allowing you to use your normal melee attacks indefinitely, but making it so normal attacks don't deflect any projectiles. Speaking of special attacks, you get 2 more attacks throughout the game. Well, you get one and a stronger version of it. If you hold down your melee button to charge it up, you unleash a ghost wave that does a good amount of damage and deflects any projectiles in its way. Of course, while charging it, you're opening yourself up to attacks, so you need to plan its uses accordingly. You get the ghost wave move after completing 3 of the 4 challenges that open up the more levels you complete. After completing the 4th challenge, you get the upgraded version, the Omega Wave. The challenges are fun, but I wish that A, there were more of them, and B, they yielded more star tokens since they're optional. Speaking of which, you use said tokens to buy regens, which regenerate your health, bullets, and weapons. Overall, the purchasing mechanic is a good idea in theory, but it's pretty flawed. I'll get to that later though. There are 9 levels in total in this game, with a boss fight at the end of each level. Each level is segmented into 3 or 4 sections that count as checkpoints. If you die, you go back to the start of that section, which can get quite annoying in the later levels. A few more checkpoints throughout each level could have gone a long way. There's nothing more frustrating than reaching the end of a section only to be killed and taken back to the very start, especially after all the time you spent trying to get past these obstacles. And it doesn't help matters that you respawn with only half your health. This problem became more apparent in the later stages, especially during boss fights. Now, the boss fights themselves are fine. In fact, they're pretty good. However, if you run out of ammo and regens before finishing a difficult section or defeating a difficult boss, and you end up dying, progressing becomes an extremely frustrating task, especially since in the later stages, ammo and regens are very rare. If you're stuck, your only option is quitting the level and buying more stuff, which means you need to do the whole level all over again. This could have been easily avoided if you respawned with a full health meter. And if it wasn't for this one cheesing method, I wouldn't have been able to beat the game. See, you can replay previous levels and challenges as many times as you want. So if you play the easiest levels enough times, you'll get enough tokens to restock all your regens and ammo and buy the 3rd gun, which is extremely overpowered. It kills every enemy in one hit, making the later stages a lot easier. And this is why I think the buying system is flawed. If you just replay the first level over and over, you could buy that weapon and the rest of the game becomes a joke. I think the shop should have offered only items, and the weapons should have been gained when you defeat specific bosses. Overall, the game's fun and it shows potential, and I think it's worth the asking price. I believe if these flaws were fixed, the game could have been a very successful action platformer. The controls are tight, the level design is solid, and the combat shows promise. The game shows passion. Daltair is an artist who decided to learn how to code and make his own game, and I respect that. The game isn't great, but it's the passion behind it that drew me into it. I think with a lot more support and a lot more time, his next game could be a great one, especially if he hires a composer and a backgrounds artist. If you're interested in getting this game, it's available for $3.99 on Steam. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.